Hello everyone and welcome to my tutorial for how to build a Texas Hold'em poker dealing machine in Minecraft. First I'm going to give you a quick demo on how this thing works and then we're going to get right into it. Okay, so first thing we do is hit the deal all button. I'm going to wait a couple seconds here and then all four players are going to get dealt their cards. Okay, so I got King 6 offsuit. Now we would do a round of betting and deal the flop. Flop cards are going to come down the center here and land in this hopper, which I renamed to board, which conveniently holds 5 items. Okay, so we got 6, 8, 10. I got a pair of 6s. Let's see if that can hold up. I'm going to go to the turn, and I'm just going to go ahead and deal the river right away. We'll pretend we're all in. So 6, 8, 10, rainbow, deuce, and a 3. Let's see if our 6s held up. Beat queen 3. Beat 2, 4, I think. And king 5. Alright, so it looks like our 6s are good. When we're done with the hand, we go ahead and throw the cards into the muck. And hit the reset. The system will then cycle the cards back into the deck, and then it's ready to deal another hand. Okay, let's get into the tutorial. Okay, so we're going to start with this dropper system here with this L-shaped water channel. Then we're going to do the filters and the recycle. I'm going to come over here, place a dropper facing down, block of space underneath it. We're going to come out 3 blocks and then 13 blocks back. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then you can go ahead and line in the back. Glass blocks here. I'm using glass just because it makes everything easier to see. You can use whatever block you want. We're also going to line in this side with glass blocks. You should get something looking like this. And then the front, we're going to use glass panes. Next, we're going to add a hopper. Every other block starting with this end block. And we can leave this last 2 blocks as it is. You also can take the glass panes above those last 2 blocks in this row. We're going to put a chest there, which we can actually do right now. And make that glass block. Okay, next step, you want to come back over to this first hopper, place some temporary blocks like that, and then hoppers going into those, and then you can immediately remove the temporary blocks. After that, we're going to go ahead and make an item filter, just a standard item filter coming out of that, if I can remember how to do it. And then we're going to repeat that for each one of these sets of hoppers. Okay, next thing you need to do is grab your stacks of paper that are numbered 1 through 6, and those are going to go in these hoppers as the filter items. Obviously you want to rename something else for these 4 slots, and then the numbered papers 1 through 6 will go in those 6 hoppers. I'm going to come around the back here, You're just gonna come around the back here to the hopper that's closest to the chest. We're gonna use some temporary blocks. 1, 2, and then 1, 2. And we're gonna put a dropper facing outwards like that. Now we're going to take some hoppers. Gonna put one into the top of the dropper. And then we're going to come along here and then run those all the way to the end. So, whoops. Okay, next up you're going to come back over to this dropper. We're going to do a little clock coming out of the back of it so that it auto dispenses any items that are put in. Need an immovable block here. Compare to going into that. Repeaters like that. And some redstone dust. Okay, next thing you want to do is create the water tube. It's going to carry those papers back up to the original dropper. So you need a block of soul sand right in front of the dropper, and then a hopper going into that top dropper. And then you're going to create a glass tube around it. Then you can go ahead and fill that up with water. And make sure it's capped off. You also want to go ahead and fill up this top dropper with your renamed pieces of paper that are 1 through 6. Like that. I like to do a stack of each. Really don't have to, I guess, but I think it's better to use at least a decent amount, you know, half a stack or something like that. Also want to add in your water stream with a source block right underneath the dropper. In between the second and third hoppers here, the second and third item filters, you're going to place a packed dice with a trapdoor on top, and then another source block right after that of water. Okay, next thing we're going to do is going to come up to the back of each item filter, put a block there on each one. Temporary block, and then right there. On that block, we're going to put a repeater. And then another block in front of that repeater. Just like that. In front of those blocks, we're going to do droppers facing up. Like so. And then glass blocks all along the solid blocks there, the iron blocks, in between the droppers as well. One in the back here. And along the other side also. Actually, don't need this one. This is going to be a water stream as well. Okay, now you're going to come to the end of these droppers. You're going to put in a little L shape of glass like that, and then block that in with glass blocks. But right here, you're going to use a barrel, like that. So, last filter, that corner, opposite of the original dropper that we placed. Then you're going to come down 1 temporary block, and then right there. And that's going to come out 4 blocks, including this, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to line that in. We're going to come out 1 block further with the sides. Put it back on it as well. Just like that. And then we're going to put a fence gate right here. open that up. So you end up with this. Bring that out as well. Make sure this is blocked off. This will eventually get capped off, like that. But I'm going to save that for last, just because we're going to add the water last. Okay, right here, underneath the fence gate, we're going to add a packed ice block. Under that, a hopper going straight down. And under that, a hopper going in towards the rest of the system so far. Just like that. In front of that bottom hopper, we're going to have a powered rail on a solid block. Oops. And a regular rail in front of it. And then 2 blocks up just like that. Okay, next step, we're going to come on 1 more block, and then including that block, we're going to go back 12 blocks. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then we're going to come in 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we're just going to complete the square. Next, we're going to come over 1 block from the rails, add another line of blocks. We're going to go in another block from that line, take out a block, come to the second last block, take that block out too, and do the same thing on the opposite side. And then in those spots we want downward facing hoppers. So you should end up with this. Underneath those hoppers we need droppers facing down. Just like that. Once you have the droppers in, you want to add a 2 high glass tube under each one. Just like that. And that just helps the cards go straight down when they're dispensed by the droppers here, so they don't fly off to the sides. Okay, next thing we're going to do is place in the detector rails. What we need to do first, come across from the first powered rail, place one there. Come over to the first hopper, skip a block, place one there. Move around to the third hopper going clockwise, skip a block, place one there. Switch over to regular rails, put those into each corner. And then the rest we're going to fill in with powered rails. We want this rail that's on the side of the first hopper, so if you're looking at it this way, we want this rail to curve like this. So you want to put it down in that order. You want this to bend, and then when it cycles around and comes down this line, you want this line to take this corner like this. You don't want it to go back this way. And then the rest just powered rails. This part we're going to mess with in a second, but you do also want a curve here. So you want it like that. Now we're going to get in the middle. We're going to come over to the detector rail right here. And we're going to create a comparator clock. So we're going to come out 4 blocks, grab some comparators and some redstone dust. Just like this. Nice and easy. Then we're going to stair step down in the back corner here, just like that, and then down again. And we're going to bring that over until we get to this junction. Then we're going to put a target block right here. Repeater on full delay, redstone dust above it, so this comparator clock, when this detector rail is triggered, it's going to turn on and then power this repeater, which is going to go down to this target block, which is going to have a torch on the end of it, just like that. And now when that torch turns off, we shall see the track change direction, but its default state will be on, just like that. And now we can go ahead and power all the rails. Okay, so when you're powering the rails, first thing you want to know is do not power this rail. That will get powered through a different circuit later on. You can definitely use levers. You just want to be careful to not use levers on the blocks that are on either side of the hoppers here, because that will lock the hopper and we don't want that. So on these sections where you really have no other choice, just use a redstone block right on top. Then you come over here, we can get a nice lever in the middle there. Right there as well. Then right here we have another one of those spots where it's going to be a little tough to put a lever down without locking the hopper. So redstone block on top, lever there. We don't want to put a lever in the inside corner here because that will move this junction. So we're just going to come in a couple blocks, put a lever there, another one there, and then on the staircase. And one right there as well. So now you should have all your powered rails on without locking any of the hoppers out. Now we're going to come back over to these two hoppers. We're going to take a comparative signal out of this, send that into a block, a repeater coming out of that, and then we're going to set up another comparator clock here with 4 comparators. We're going to step down just like that, repeater, redstone dust, and then that's going to go into a piston, sticky piston, with an observer on the end of it that's facing in like that. So it's face on the outside, and that's going to be pointing into a repeater, and that's your falling edge circuit. Also, you want to make sure this repeater is on full delay, or the repeater in front of this observer. You can come around to the front of these hoppers, put your minecart chest down there. One thing I didn't do a moment ago is you have to put this stopper block down. So just like that, in front of and on the side of the packed ice, so that when the minecart comes up this ramp, it runs into that and falls straight down. Then we can test this out by just taking an item, popping it in the top hopper there. Clock will go off, and once it comes back, chest takes off, and we should see our item get dropped off right there. It's going to go around twice, then the track's going to switch, and it's going to come back to its original starting spot. Okay, now we're going to make the poker table itself. So what we need to do is, from the end of the little glass tube here, we're going to come down 6 blocks. And on the 7th block right in front of it like that is going to be your first piece of green wool. And we're going to make a 3x7 rectangle. And then I like to put stairs around it like this. You can remove the temporary blocks, and there's your poker table. Now that you have the table built, the next step, we're going to come in and put some shulker boxes down, which you need a block underneath because you want them to face upwards. So you can place some temporary blocks like this, the middle outside blocks here and here, and then the other corners. Come up top, break out all those pieces of wool. And then there you go. Now we need a hopper in the middle facing into the wool. Don't put it into the shulker because then obviously the cards that get dealt into this will go right into these shulkers, which we don't want. This is going to be the pot. This is going to be the board where the cards come down, and these are going to be everybody's chip stacks. We're going to knock out those 2 blocks. We're going to take a trap chest and put 1 in each. This is going to be the muck. So when you fold your hand, you can throw it in here. It's a trap chest so that if you put the hand in here and then you change your mind, you can snap it back out really quick. If you do a regular chest, obviously it's just going to go away because it's going to be hopper right underneath it. So it's going to go away as soon as you put it in the chest. So we use a trap chest just to give you a chance to change your mind. Okay, now we're going to put hoppers under the 2 trap chests and the center hopper. I'm going to put temporary hopper right here just for a second, just so I can get these to point into the middle. Another temporary hopper, and there we go. We just want this middle one facing out that way, opposite direction of the original dropper we started off with. So heading out that way, and we'll come back to that in a second. Now we're going to set up the dealer chair, which is going to be this corner, which again is on the opposite corner of the dropper we started off from. We're going to put in a button here, and a button here. I like to use 2 different colors. This one's going to be the reset, so I like using the crimson and then using the warped for the other 2 buttons. This one that's furthest away from the dealer is going to deal the players, and then this is going to deal the board. Underneath those, we need some sticky pistons, slime blocks for 2 of them, and redstone blocks for all of them. So we're going to set it up like this. Under the reset, it's just a sticky piston and redstone block. Under the 2 dealing buttons, 2 sticky pistons, slime block, redstone block, just like that. Now from the reset piston, we're going to come down 2 blocks and out a block, and you can remove those. We're going to come out 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total blocks, including this corner. Then we're going to create another comparator clock. I love me some comparator clocks, you're going to notice. And we're going to fill that in. 3 comparators on each side, 6 total. Dust it all up. Perfect. Out this corner, gonna have another block with a repeater on it. And that's gonna go into a target block. Okay, this is going to look a little different for a second. That's just because I realized I missed a step. After you add this target block here, you also want to add a repeater coming out from the side into another target block just like this. So this is the comparator clock we just built. Repeater going off this way into a target block, and then a repeater going off this way into a target block that's off to the side. I'm going to explain the rest of what you see here in a second, but I missed that initially and I didn't want to screw you up. Okay, now we're going to go over to the opposite side of the comparator clock. I'm going to put a redstone torch on this side of the target block here, blocking this corner hopper. I'm going to put another redstone torch on the opposite side of the other target block with a solid block on top of it, which is going to lock that hopper. From the same target block, we're going to come out with a solid block and then stair step up like this to a torch. Put redstone dust on those 2 blocks. And then this block, we're going to put a block on top of this torch. That is going to be whatever block you're going to use for your floor. So I use red wool, excuse me, just like that. But whatever you're going to use for your floor, you want that right there because that's going to be exposed. Then we're going to come on the inside of that block. We're going to put a sticky piston with a redstone block. Just like that. So now we've locked this corner, and the middle hopper. Then we're going to come over to the furthest piston from the dealer seat. This is going to deal the players. We're going to come down 2 blocks, over 1, just like that. You can get rid of the first 2 blocks. We're going to step down 1 more time, and then including this block, we're going to come out 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to go up 1, over 1, and then including this block, we're going to come over 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like that. And we're going to come up 1 more block. Out of these 2 blocks, we're going to create a small comparator clock, my favorite circuit, just like that. I'm going to dust, so right there. Then we need a repeater facing this way. Oops, and then dust all the way back to another repeater, just like that, and some dust on top of the original block there. Now we're going to create a vertical redstone line, starting with a sticky piston right here. 11 slime blocks going up. Redstone block, block of space, another piston. Get rid of that temporary block, so we just want 1 air gap right there. 10 more slime blocks. Redstone block, glazed terracotta, piston, observer facing up, observer facing down, diagonal to it, like that. A dropper coming out of that observer, a hopper going into that dropper. You should end up with this. Now we're going to take another dropper, have it facing up on the side of the hopper, another hopper facing into the side of that dropper, so that when items are in this dropper get dispensed from this observer clock, they'll go into the hopper and then into the dropper. And then we're going to make it so the dropper fires automatically, like so. And then just 1 more repeater on 2 ticks of delay facing into the original dropper that have your 1 through 6 numbers in them. So now every time this dropper spits out an item, so will this dropper. Next, we need to create a little water tube that's going to recycle the items back into this dropper once they get spit out. So come up like this. We need hoppers coming up to that level, creating like a backwards L. Just like that. Wall it in, and then we can add our water. If you can figure out how to spell water. So now the items will get dispensed from this dropper into the hopper, into the dropper, up through the water stream, and then back down into this first dropper. Definitely want to cap this off at the top as well, just so you don't have anything escaping on you. One last thing you have to do with this circuit here that we just built, you have to come over to this dropper. You're going to add 8 items in. These 8 items are telling the system how many cards to deal. So for example, if you amended this to be a 3-player game, you would only put 6 items in. If it was a 2-player game, you'd only put 4. I had set it up for 4 players, so I'm using 8. Now we're going to set up the line to deal the board cards, which is going to come out of the closest piston to the dealer. We're going to do this similar thing to what we did on the other side and step down just like that, but then we're going to come out 9 blocks, including this first one. And then we're going to turn and go into that block. And then right out the other side, step back up, and then including this block, we're going to come over 5, just like that. is going to be a repeater on full delay, redstone dust coming back, another repeater facing into the block, no delay, redstone dust going all the way back until this repeater, just like the first one, just like that. We also need a redstone dust right on top of that first block. Now we're going to do another vertical redstone line, starting with a sticky piston on the side of the repeater. 11 slime blocks, redstone block, block of space, sticky piston, 7 more slime blocks, and then another redstone block. Now right here you definitely want to replace this glass block with some sort of a movable block like glazed terracotta, and then just put a piece of redstone dust on top of that. Do not forget the immovable block there. That will be bad. Otherwise the slime blocks will pull down that block and it will let all the water out. So very important to switch that block out to some sort of a movable block. Furnace, glazed terracotta, whatever you choose. Now we're going to go all the way back down to the table. Back to the closest piston to the dealer seat on the right hand side here. The line we just did. And we're going to put a block there in the corner with another redstone dust, a regular piston, redstone block, and then another regular piston 1 block away. So these are just going to push this redstone block back and forth. On the side of this piston, we're going to come out just like that, and some redstone dust to connect it to this line. So now when you hit the reset line, that'll push back and forth just like that. Now we're going to come back over to these pistons. We're going to put a solid block right in that open space here. We're going to come over 7, including the first one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then over 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, just like that. We're going to go into another vertical redstone line, starting from there. Now we come up 11 blocks. Redstone block, space, sticky piston, 2 more slime blocks, another redstone block, immovable block on the side, dust, sticky piston. And you power that piston and unpower it just to remove that packed ice like this. And then come back and put redstone dust on all of these blocks, so that when this redstone block gets pushed over, that will power this line. Now we're going to move up to this section and we're going to work on the deck reset. We're going to start with adding hoppers to the back of each one of these droppers. Then we're going to grab some droppers, and not on this side, you can actually put another hopper right there underneath the barrel. But in between all of these hoppers, we're going to have droppers facing to the side like this. Underneath those droppers, we need droppers facing up. Just like that. And then you're going to grab some more hoppers and go into the side of those droppers we just did. Just like that. Come back over to the barrel, hopper going into it on the top, and then a line of hoppers going to that hopper. We're going to come out 2 hoppers past this last dropper that's facing up here that we first put in. Just like that. We can also go ahead and put 2 more hoppers facing out at the end of this bottom line. So now we're going to create a little dropper elevator here. So 3 droppers facing up. So items will go in and then up into this top hopper line. Then we need observers facing into those droppers. So a bunch of temporary blocks. And just like that. And then we need observers facing upwards on the sides of those sideways observers. Now we need to detect those items going into those droppers. So we're going to create a little comparator clock here. Just like this. Comparator coming out of that bottom dropper into a block. Repeater, repeater, redstone dust. You actually don't need these blocks. And then a powered rail just off the side underneath these upwards facing observers. So now every time something goes in, it gets pushed right out. Now we want to come back over to the first set of double droppers here. Out of the bottom dropper, we're going to grab a comparator signal. It's going to go into a block. Starting with the block that the comparator sits on, you can make a little cross shape, punch out the middle like that. Redstone dust, repeater in the middle, sticky piston facing up on the side of that block with an observer facing in that direction, and then diagonally above it you want another observer facing in the opposite direction, so that creates a clock when it gets pushed up by the piston, and it will make that dropper fire off rapidly. Then you're going to recreate that for each of these sets of droppers. You should end up with something looking like this. One thing you might run into, is if you're using redstone blocks to power your rail line, you might notice that it butts up against some of the pistons. Obviously just move that to wherever it doesn't interfere with this system, and that will be fine. Once you have that all set up, we're going to add some blocks in between these spaces, including the outside spots like that. We're going to take repeaters, and on the blocks that the comparators are facing into, we're going to drop some repeaters. The opposite blocks we're going to put redstone. And then on the blocks that have the redstone, we're going to put torches on the side facing towards the hoppers here. Just like that. Now we're going all the way back down to the bottom line here. We're going to put a temporary block, dropper facing upwards. Then we're going to create a little clock here, so that will fire off automatically. Just like that. Then we're going to take a signal out of this corner block as well. Like so. On top of this dropper, we're going to need some soul sand. And then we're going to grab some glass, and we're going to make a tube that goes all the way up into the hopper that's on top of the barrel, just like this. You're going to notice it fits in pretty tight. Just trying to keep the footprint as small as possible, but everything should fit fine. There you go. And you can go ahead and fill that with water. I'm going to wait and do that last. I like to add the water in last. Now, in front of this repeater, we're going to do a solid block, sticky piston, redstone block, and then we're going to have an etho hopper clock next to that redstone block. Inside the clock, we're going to do about a stack and a half of items. Okay, and then from this left hopper, we're going to stair step down, just like this. Redstone dust on top, target block on the side of that, and then we're going to grab a sticky piston and create a vertical redstone line. We're going to use 10 slime blocks. Redstone block. Sticky piston right on top of it. Don't forget this is already extended, so you do not want to block a space this time. One slime block, and then redstone block on top of that. Okay, now we're going to grab an immovable block, put it on the side of this top slime block, repeater on top of that, going into a solid block with a torch coming out. Then we're going to create a comparator clock here. It's going to connect all the way to this original line, like that. Comparator is going into this block, and then dust right there. Now when you turn this off, you'll get this cycling. Now we're going to wrap around to the minecart circuit again, and we're going to do the water channel that carries the flop cards. We'll start with a glass block right there, come out 4 total, turn the corner, and including the corner we're going to come over 8. Going to stair step down 1 block, and go in 5, just like that. You're also going to want to leave a hole for the cards to flow through, and then just wall all of that in. Now we're going to come over to the 5th block in this line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Replace that with packed ice. Trapdoor on top of that. Here we're going to have an open fence gate, and then another open fence gate right there. Now we can go ahead and add in the water. So from right in front of this fence gate, we're going to put our first source block after the trapdoor, and then underneath this second fence gate. And then you want to cap all that off. Oops. You also want to add in a short tube at the end just to make sure the cards get aligned with the hopper that they're going to fall into. So just like this, come down 3 or 4 blocks. You're going to end up with a little bit of an air block here where the redstone dust is. That's fine. The momentum's going in the opposite direction. So nothing should get caught on that ledge. It should fall straight down into that hopper. Okay, so now we're going to load up our playing cards. I have everything prepped in here. I put them in order from lowest to high, and then by suit, so it makes it easier to find the cards and make sure I don't double load the same card twice. I'm going to grab 1 of each card. I load them up like this, 2 suits at a time. So I have ace through king of spades and then ace through king of clubs. And I'll do the diamonds and hearts in a second trip. I'm just going to come over to the droppers here and then just fill them up. Doesn't matter what order, doesn't matter if they are in order. Everything's going to get randomized either way. Just got to get them into the droppers. if you did everything correct and if you have the correct amount of cards, you should end up with 5 droppers that are completely full and then one that only has 7, and that's your 52 cards. Now that we have the cards in, we're just going to add the final water streams. So if you're looking at it from this angle, we're going to come between the second and third dropper, take out that glass block, throw in some packed ice, trapdoor on top like that. You can throw in your water source right at the end. Then you want to come over to this hole after this little L shape. We're going to throw in a fence gate, open that up, and then you can put another source block there. And then we're going to hop down below that and put one more source block at the bottom, and then you want to cap all that off with some glass. You also want to come back over here to our first system, make sure you add glass blocks in between each one of the hoppers here, and then cap that off as well. One last thing before we give it a test. I noticed there's a piece of redstone dust missing on top of this immovable block, which is the highest one in the system if you're trying to find it, or close to the original dropper that we had started off from. And then you also want to come back and put glass on top of any of the exposed hoppers, just so nothing else gets into the system. We want this to be closed loop. We don't want any items coming in and messing up the deck or the randomization or the number of cards being dealt. So block off everything you can. Obviously you're not going to be able to block these hoppers off. If you want to be a little more precautious, you could do solid blocks on top like this, and that would help, and you could even seal it off on the side. That's up to you. I didn't do that on mine. Just make sure that, especially this line over here, is all capped off. Now we're just going to come back to our minecart line, and we're going to build a little bridge here between the two dropper chutes. We're going to add some redstone dust underneath the detector rail. 3 repeaters, all of them on full delay. Then 1 repeater going the opposite direction on 2 ticks. We're going to come around, and then we're going to mirror that same setup. Redstone under the detector rail, repeater on 2 ticks, 3 repeaters on full delay. Just like that. Now we're going to come back over to the reset line here. Coming out of this dropper, we're going to put in 5 hoppers, and then we're going to bring those back to link up with the center hopper that's underneath the table. And there we go. As long as that lines up, we're good. And we can go ahead and add the water to the tube here. Once you have the water added to the tube, last thing we need to do, I noticed I missed, you just need to add some blocks around this soul sand block so no items get shot off to the side. And just to reiterate, you want to cap off these hoppers. It happens to be a floor height, so if this is all going to be in the room you build, it will just get capped off by the floor. But if it's not, then make sure you use something to cap these off and make sure no additional items get into the system. And after that, we're good to go to deal some cards. Okay, then let's play some poker. First, I'm going to go ahead and hit the deal all button. We can go up, see everything working. It's going to shoot out the cards. They're going to make their way around to the minecart chest. The minecart chest is going to wait until it has all 8 cards, and then it will take off, start dispensing them to the players one at a time. Once everybody has 2 cards, garbage, you can go ahead and deal the flop. And obviously there'll be another round of betting. You can go ahead and deal the turn. Another round of betting. You can go ahead and deal the river. And then everybody finds out the good news. Let's see how I did. I got a 5. pair of fives. Pair of fives gonna hold up. Oh, I lost right away. Once the hand's complete, throw the hands in the muck. Throw the cards in the muck, rather. Got the cards on the board still. Just go ahead and hit the reset. All of that will get sucked out and sent into that water elevator and eventually back into the deck. I would also recommend renaming the shulkers, trap chest, and hopper that are on the table to say what each function is. So for example, I have this shulker named chip stack, as well as the rest of the corner shulkers. The trap chest I've renamed to muck. The hopper I've renamed to board. And then the center shulkers I've renamed to pot. So everybody knows exactly what each part of the table functions as. Lastly, I just wanted to mention that you can also deal blackjack or Omaha poker using the same table without changing any of the redstone. For blackjack, you just start it like you normally would, deal the initial 2 cards, and play as a blackjack hand from there. For Omaha, you start it like you normally would, but then hit the deal button a second time after everybody gets their first 2 cards, and you'll get a second 2 cards for 4 total, and then you're playing Omaha poker instead of Texas Hold'em. So a little bit of versatility there. Other than that, you're good to go. This thing is fully functional and ready to ruin your friends' Minecraft bankrolls. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Please subscribe if you want to see more. Appreciate it. See you guys on the next one.